Sharandra has chosen the Ibizan Hound as well as the rainbow phoenix to represent her frequency. So the Ibizan Hound is a really old breed that you can trace back to ancient Egypt. And they have a very chiseled body, kind of like a greyhound, with a really tall neck and these really huge ears. I was instantly reminded of Anubis, a jackal-headed Egyptian deity. He also is the protector of sacred thresholds. But the resemblance that I picked up on between Sharandra and Anubis was significant because there is a function overlap that I found very interesting between these two. Welcome to Howling at the Moon, where the mystical meets the practical, and the canine spirit guides lead the way. I'm your host, Heather Leigh Strom. In 2022, I experienced a sudden, life-changing spiritual awakening. After a lifetime of struggling with, who am I and why am I here? For 5 decades, the world felt cold and confusing. Now I see the patterns, the purpose, and the bigger magical picture. My mission? To help you find your way through your own awakening journey. Here, you'll discover limitless possibilities for spiritual growth, powerful healing frequencies, and extraordinary energetic professionals, each designed to guide you into deeper healing and remembrance. Some episodes feature enlightening wisdom from spiritually evolved guest healers, visionaries, and authors. Others are led by the multidimensional canine spirit guides themselves, sharing their unique intergalactic wisdom and frequency. If you've been craving deeper truth, multidimensional healing, and a little cosmic magic, you've just found your pack. Listen and watch on Spotify or YouTube and bring the magic back into your life. Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Howling at the Moon. I'm your host, Heather Leigh Strom, and today we have an exciting new canine spirit guide to introduce you to. It's been a while since I've brought a new canine spirit guide forward, and today we're going to be meeting Sharandra. Now, I have to admit, her name is spelled in all of these ancient symbols that some of them I can't even find a text for. So it's hard to write out her name. And her name as it looks is nothing like it sounds. So it's really hard to encapsulate all of her frequency in her name. But Shalandra is really fascinating, and she's been a lot of fun to get to know and to work with. Of course, she's one of the Essential 8, which will be in my second book. My Canine Spirit Guide's second book is going to be coming out probably next year. I have all of the Essential 8 now, and Shalandra was one of the first to come through for this new group. So we're going to meet her today. Now, she stepped forward when I had a client, of course, that needed her services, her abilities. And this client was a very evolved soul. So I was really curious to see what canine spirit guide was going to come forward to work with her, because I knew she was going to need something really spectacular. And that's when I met Sharandra. Okay, so Sharandra has chosen the Ibizan Hound as well as the rainbow phoenix to represent her frequency. So these are both very exciting animal aspects that she's combining, conjoining to represent her full frequency. And we're going to talk about each one of these because they're both really fascinating. So the Ibizan Hound is a really old breed that you can trace back to ancient Egypt. And it's not a very common breed. You don't see many out in the world in real life. I have never met one in real life. You might see some if you go to an AKC dog show, maybe, but I haven't run into any of these in my personal life as a dog trainer. So they're really rare comparatively. And this dog breed, the Ibizan Hound, is typically red and white, or like a dark brown and white. They have a very chiseled body, kind of like a greyhound, with a really tall neck and these really huge ears, right? So they're distinctive. And when I saw this breed, I was instantly reminded of Anubis. But there is a connection between Sharandra and Anubis. So it's important that you understand who Anubis is accurately and correctly in order for you to really be able to tap into the frequency of Shalandra. So Anubis is a jackal-headed Egyptian deity that's always been known as the guardian of the dead. And there's not been a lot of information brought forward on him except that he's the guardian of the dead. So no one really understood whether he was a positive entity or a negative entity. But he also is the protector of sacred thresholds. And that's the key point that we want to tap into today. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more. But the resemblance that I picked up on between Sharandra and Anubis was significant because there is a function overlap that I found very interesting between these two. So last year, I actually did work with Anubis, probably a handful of times, and I was really surprised at how supportive his frequency is, how willing he is to help humanity. He wasn't this negative entity that I always thought that he was. He was very positive, and he serves a specific purpose for humanity and in the spirit realm. He really works closely in this dimension, thereabouts, as a threshold guardian and a protector, basically holding space and frequency at critical portal spaces, like opportunities for you to cross through the dimensions. So he's critical in holding space, keeping the frequency pure, limiting any negative interference through that portal and within your experience. And he was helpful for me in holding any frequency I had that didn't belong in that space. So I could park that frequency with him and he would safeguard it, and I'd be allowed to proceed forward into that portal, into that other dimension, or into that initiation without being held back by a lower frequency that I might be carrying. So he's very helpful for us. And this is kind of similar to how Shalandra works as well. So Anubis really isn't a judge the way he's been portrayed here on the earth plane. He's more of a protector or an escort, and he helps escort souls into the afterlife, or in this case, into higher realms of consciousness. So don't be afraid by his name or his term or what you've been told in the past about him, because chances are it's not accurate. And Shalandra carries this very similar frequency to Anubis. And she's not so much a canine spirit guide as she is more of a gatekeeper or a dimensional navigator, and even a protector for those that are ready to elevate their frequency. And the other side of her frequency, she's chosen to be represented by, surprise, surprise, the rainbow phoenix. Now, she's not the first of the essential 8 to utilize a shamanic animal that is not visible in this 3D plane, and we haven't gotten to that one yet. So this is the first time we're going to be dealing with a bird that we can't see with our visible eyes, the rainbow phoenix. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. What I found surprising when I did spend time with her and share space with her is that the actual dog's body, even though the Ibizan Hound is red and white, Sharandra's frequency actually has the dog color shimmering in rainbow colors as well as the bird wings. So this image isn't quite perfected yet, but this is the starting image I have so that you can kind of get a visual of what she looks like, or she might look like if you work with her. Now, Shalandra refers to herself as the Portal Princess. This is the title she's given herself. All the canine guides have their own title, their own specialty that they focus on and they help humanity with. And she calls herself the Portal Princess, and we're going to see why that is. And what she does is she helps escort us between dimensions, helping us to retrieve soul parts, maybe, activate dormant gifts that we haven't been utilizing, we didn't know we had access to. Maybe those gifts need to be upscaled a little bit. And she makes it really easy to rise into new timelines and access new layers and levels of ourselves. Her energy, just as I have described about all the colors, is absolutely stunning. She's commanding when you work with her. You just let her show you the way and she just takes care of it. And her frequency is transformative. Just being in the frequency is enough just to trigger your own transformation. And she's really offering, when she works with us, she's offering us an invitation to rise, for us to elevate into our quantum selves. That's her focus. Now, much like the other guides in the Essential Eight, she introduced herself when she was needed. So when I had a client who was ready for her services and who required her services, that's when she stepped forward. Now, this client was a really advanced client. I could pick up on that when I was doing her reading. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm really curious to see what canine guide is going to come through for this client. Because I could just tell there was so much more here than anybody I had worked with up to this point. So I was really anxious to see who was going to come forward. I did not realize it was going to be a new guide that I hadn't met yet. So Shalandra was a surprise, and a very welcome surprise. Now, this client had already completed 2 soul missions in this life, and she was working on her 3rd. So this is really rapid turnover. And Shalandra was here to make this transition super smooth and easy. She was going to be upgrading this client's hardware to equip her for her new task at hand, her new direction, and her new mission. So this was really exciting stuff for me and for the client. Shalandra quickly took both of us through a portal, and this was the first time that any of the guides had done that, taken us through a portal. And I felt like we were traveling further away than I've ever been before. And we ended up on a planet that was, it seemed like it was made completely of crystal. The ground was crystalline. The plants were crystalline. The water was crystalline. The air was crystalline. The mountains looked like they were made of pure crystal. There was so much frequency on this planet and in this atmosphere that it was almost too bright to see. It was incredible. I'd never experienced anything like that before. And my client had never been there before either. And she was a very psychic person herself. So this was exciting for both of us. But Shalandra was telling my client that this was a place that her soul had history at. This was a place of crystals. This was a place that she was going to be receiving upgrades, almost like she was swapping out her parts, her hardware, her tools that she needed so that she could move into this new evolution of herself here on Earth and complete her third mission. So I watched as she was swapping out these parts and these pieces, and the client could see it as well, only she was getting even more vivid visuals of what was happening, and she could feel it being integrated with her body, her physical body as well. And then it was time to come home. It was time to come back. And when we came back, Sharandra brought us through the portal again, of course. But as I came through that portal, I dropped like a lead all the way through the Earth's atmosphere, like I was just pummeling through the sky without a parachute. And I landed so forcefully that I almost fell out of my chair. And I noticed that my client came back a little bit more gradual, a little more subtly. And I asked her about her experience, and she said, "Oh, it was wonderful. She even gave me a set of wings." So as I came back through the portal, I just glided back to my body. So then I made a note to ask Shalandra for the wings for myself for the next time, so that I didn't come crashing back into my body. But that's how I knew how far away we were, because when we came back, I could just feel the distance that I was traveling. So that was a really interesting experience. And the client really felt the integration over the next few days, the next couple weeks, as she was really kind of adjusting to how to use this technology that she came back with. It was fascinating, like nothing I'd ever experienced before with the canine guides. Now, a few days later, Sharandra came back for me in my dream state. So you know what I mean by dream state? Like, that's the time when it appears you're dreaming, but it's a very lucid dream. It's a very real dream. It's different from any other dream. It's not the brain processing. It's an actual event that's happening. Shalandra came and got me, and she took me through the portal again. And we ended up on a different planet. And in that moment, I was very involved in the surrounding. I knew I could see every detail of where we were. I was talking with Sharandra, getting, her name is hard to say, Sharandra, getting downloads and information about why I was there, what I was doing, where I was going, where we were. It was all very vivid. And then as we started to come back, as the gravitational force and that suction force, when you come back to your body, it's like a real suction. It just sucks you back. So I started to come back a little faster than I wanted to, and I wasn't ready to leave Sharandra. I had so many more questions to ask her. So as I was coming back to my body, I yelled out, "Where was I?" That's the one thing I thought to ask right before I snapped back in my body. And she said back to me, "You were in the ether universe." And I was like, wow, I've never been there before. So the seconds after that experience, I woke up. I should have written everything down then, because as each second ticked by, those memories started to dissolve. They literally just dissolved like mist. And the only thing I could remember was the familiarity of the event and where I was and what was going on, and the fact that I had asked her that question at the very end. So that was all I could remember by the time I got up and actually got my journal. Everything else was wiped clean. So I couldn't remember why I had been there. But I don't know if it was a couple days later, a week later. Yeah, I think it was just a couple days later. I had a session with a crystal healer, and it was a remote session. So she was working with me and describing to me, what crystals she was using. We get to the end of the session and she says, "This is interesting. They're having me use a crystal to work on you, that doesn't exist here in this earth plane. So she was having to energetically, ethereally apply the crystal to the work. And as soon as she said that, memories came flooding back in. That's exactly why I went, where I went, when I went with Shalandra. She was having me bring that crystal frequency back to this earth plane so it could be utilized in my healing session because I was going to need it a few days later. That was fascinating and mind-blowing for sure, you guys. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that before. And then I've also worked with her with a different client. This client needed to go back to her source. So Shalandra took her through a portal and she delivered her to what she called her soul pod. So it was a collection. All I could see was energy. I couldn't see bodies. I couldn't see entities. I just saw the massive energy. And she plugged this client's soul into this soul pod. And when she did that, there was an avalanche of remembering that happened for that client. And I could feel it. I was narrating the whole experience and I could just feel the downloads coming through for that client. And it was fast, swift, powerful. It was so much that it was something that the client was going to have to unpack gradually over the next few weeks or even months. It would take her to get through all that she downloaded in that one session with Shalandra. So that was a very sacred experience for that client as well. She just never ceases to amaze me. When I work with her, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where we're going to go. I don't know what the client is going to be receiving from her. Each experience is unique, and that's what's so incredible about the canine spirit guides. So Shalandra really shows us that rebirth doesn't require death. We just need a willingness to let go of the old version of ourselves that no longer aligns with where we're going. She can help us retrieve what's been lost, install any new technology that's necessary, and fully ascend into what's next, our new chapter, our new phase, our new evolution of ourselves. And all of that is possible right here, right now. You don't have to wait for the next lifetime. You can just choose to activate it now. And that's what's so incredible. I mean, we have so much flexibility now that we didn't have before. And that's part of what she's here to teach us and to show us. She is the gatekeeper to the quantum field of your becoming. She waits until you're ready, and then she opens the portal and escorts you through. Isn't that incredible to have access to something like that? It's incredible, you guys. Absolutely. I mean, how far we've come as a race, as humanity. We're coming back into ourselves. It's just beautiful to witness. So, if you're interested in this work, if you're interested in experiencing Shalandra, I'm doing a channeled download with her. It's like a meditation. It'll be very similar to like a session with a client, except it won't be tailored specifically for you. It's a downloaded experience for anyone who would be interested in working with Shalandra. I'm recording this and it will be available on my Substack. So you just have to join my Substack, become a subscriber, and you'll be able to access that meditation as many times as you wish and work with that frequency of Shalandra. So I'll put that link in the description below or in the show notes. Just check it out, see what you think, take her for a test drive, see what she's like. It's really incredible. I'm not sure what she's going to download yet because I'm recording that next. So I'm sure it will be spectacular. And by the way, this podcast is now available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Substack, of course, and Amazon Music. So if you'd like to listen on the go, just plug it in. All right, that's all for today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, for listening, for being curious about the canine spirit guides. Be sure and come back again for the next episode with an amazing spiritual guest or more canine spirit guides. If you'd like to learn more about me, what I do, my private sessions, or maybe more about the canine spirit guides themselves, just go to my webpage, heatherleigstrom.com, Heather, LeighStrom.com, and you'll find everything you need there. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. And remember, elevate your frequency and transform your reality. Make life magical. Love ya. Thank you for joining me today. The healing session for this episode with the Canine Spirit Guides is now available exclusively through my subscriber portal on Substack. These energetic downloads are sacred transmissions, and by moving them to a dedicated space, I can connect more intentionally with those of you who feel called to receive them. It also helps me get to know you a little better so that I can more effectively serve and support this growing community. If you'd like to access the healing frequencies of this episode's Canine Spirit Guide and future transmissions, just head over to my Substack at heatherleigstrom.substack.com and become a subscriber. Whether you join us there or simply tune in here, the Canine Spirit Guides and I are so grateful to share this path with you. And be sure to stay put because there might be more coming on this podcast.